Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Thank you so much for joining us for another segment of Health Professional Radio. In this segment, we're going to be speaking with Juliette Han. She's joining us from Cambrian BioPharma to talk about the company's work in discovering treatments that increase health span. Welcome to Health Professional Radio, Juliette Han.
Thank you so much for having me, Neil. I'm very excited to be here.
Give us a little bit of information about yourself. Who is Juliette Han, and what is your current role at Cambrian BioPharma?
So I'm the COO and CFO of Cambrian BioPharma, and Cambrian is the world's premier health span company, bringing the best of biotech, venture capital, and pharma all together to redefine what it means to age. We are a different model of biotech. We pride ourselves in looking into the future and treating diseases not when they happen, but trying to figure out scientifically how we can prevent illnesses that happen as we age.
So when it comes to aging, are you trying to slow the process, eliminate the process, reverse the process, or just being healthier as we age?
I think it's all of the above. The way we understand or study the human body is very reactive. When diseases happen, we're trying to figure out how to solve them, especially as we get older, such as cardiovascular diseases and cancer. And in a way, it's a luxury to be able to think about the fact that we can age, because it was only 100 years ago that human beings were living to be 50 years old. And just 100 years after, thanks to progression in infrastructure, a lot of medicines and bacteria and understanding of viruses, life expectancy in the U.S. is about 76 right now, in some countries in the lower 80s. So in a way, we're in this luxurious position to think about how we age and how we can age better. However, the way we still think about science and drug development is much more reactive, and that is absolutely necessary too. We are all devastated by onslaught of diseases as we age, but we also want to get ahead of the problem and say, how can we start to think about how we age? And it could be deterioration of your faculties in every which way possible, as well as your physical decline that we just accept to be fate and part of life. But as much as I want us to think of aging gracefully and accept many things that are beautiful in life, we want to make sure people have a choice to age with health. And so that when you're 80 or 90 years old, you are still able to live a fulfilling life.
So how broad a phrase or topic is health span? What is health span, and how should we be thinking about it?
The reason why we use the word health span versus longevity is that longevity really only points out how long you're living, but not so much the quality of life. And if you ask anyone, if you ask them, how long do you want to live? But what's the quality of that life? I'm not sure people want to live that long if the quality of life isn't very good, or if they're not able to live fulfillingly. So health span points out that lack in the term longevity, which is health span is the number of years spent in good health. Now, I know good is subjective, but I want to define good in terms of you're able to do what you wish you can do. And whether it be venturing out, having new experiences, having fulfilling day-to-day, and then nothing hindering you from spending time from what you're able to do and who you're able to do it with.
How is pharma beginning to address health span?
So I can't speak for all of industry just yet. Pharma is so vast, and I would say that majority of the companies are still thinking about how to react to diseases. And that's not a bad thing, by the way. When we learn Business 101, we're taught to think about the problem first and come up with a solution. And a reflection of that in pharma is, of course, what are the diseases you want to cure? And therefore, what is the cure that you're going to bring? At the same time, that makes us behind as a humanity. Think about how can we prevent these illnesses? And I think everyone would agree that prevention is so important, but there may not be a market for it. So what we're trying to do at Cambrian is bring to forefront how we can think about prevention and understanding decline of the human body. And as I can't speak for pharma as an industry, but longevity or health span is coming up to be a subsector within the industry. And there are players addressing it in different definitions. So for instance, addressing neurodegenerative diseases as part of that effort. Some people might see that prevention as part of that effort. So it's still a broad term within the industry. I don't think there's a collective central force addressing that as a whole, though.
So there is still a lot of work that needs to be done just getting the word out, I guess getting society to think differently about aging. Because as you said, I still think about longevity as a goal. And I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Absolutely. I think there needs to be a big collaboration. I mean, we say that about everything, but especially for longevity, it's a big one, or health span research. Because unlike one targeted disease, this is really about understanding the holistic decline or the mechanisms that drive the human body. And the only way we can do that is if we can pull together disparate pieces that we may not think is relevant in its own individualistic quality. But pulling it together, we might be able to derive insights. But, of course, trying to pull together, incentivize private companies to commit or contribute to some sort of consortia is going to take a long thinking. And I do think that there's room for creation of a nonprofit or some sort of government regulated data consortium to make that data accessible for everyone who can find and generate insight in it. And I think that's really truly the only way we can get to this future together faster, because there's no way one company can hold all the insights and facts into the human body. And we're all working towards it at individual lanes. But I do think that there's huge room for improvement in how we can bring all of that together to generate like a master center of almost like open source, I would say.
Do you think that the industry and the consumer can be on the same page when it comes to health span management? Or should there be a concerted effort to get the industry on board with management from an industry standpoint and get the consumer to understand health span management from a consumer standpoint?
I think that there should be concerted effort for both. So there's a lot of room for pharma and biotech as an industry on how they can communicate in general, outside of just health span, with the consumers. And I would say that people actually like thinking about aging and extending health span, and all of us combined. However, we're not sharing enough as to how the work in the sciences are doing to contribute to that. And I think that is a root cause in many ways of misinformation out there. And a lot of the information out there around how one can age healthfully isn't something that is backed by science. And I do think there needs to be a bridging of that. At the same time, I don't think anyone would disagree that there is absolutely a benefit and an upside for all of us, especially as we think about the seniors and nursing homes and how that care is no longer working. And if we can achieve a longer healthful living where we can collectively think about what does it mean to age and have central supported resources to think about how we can support ourselves and the community as we age, I think that's a win for everybody. So that's why one of the things, the prevailing, messages that Cambrian wants to send is, what does it mean to age? And how can we get everyone on the same page, whether it be societally or scientifically, on the path and the chapters that we live as humanity?
Is there anything that you'd like to add? And then give us a website where we can learn more.
I would like for every one of us to not only think about treating diseases, but really have a paradigm shift as consumers, as scientists, and as healthcare professionals on how we can better communicate the findings to the humanity on how we can prevent diseases and how we can age healthfully. And I do think that we should also spend more time as professionals to come together to create a collective on central effort to make this happen, because this is not an onus we can put on one single entity. As far as learning more, you can visit our Cambrian website at www.cambrianbio.com to learn about all of our programs that we are developing to make this happen. You can also visit my LinkedIn profile to learn more about how I like to lead as a professional in this field, and what we're doing at Cambrian Bio as well.
And Cambrian Bio is CAMBRIAN bio.com. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. Juliette, I appreciate you coming in here on Health Professional Radio. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard, in conversation with Juliette Han, Chief Financial Officer and Chief Operating Officer at Cambrian BioPharma. Audio copies of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, listen in, download at Anchor, Spotify, and be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Health Professional Radio.